So what's good, people? Today we're going to talk about the Kizer feweed, I think is how you say it, in 80s camo carbon and s45vn shiny or semi-shiny DLC coated blade. It's a little bit smaller knife. It's not tiny. Gotta wipe the fingerprints off that DLC. But it is a little bit of a smaller knife. It's 7.09 inches overall. The blade is right under 3 inches long, and it weighs 3.16 ounces. It actually fits in my hand rather well. You can see I've still got like a little bit left over on the back, and because of the poon, it's very nice to lock in behind. And it's just a really nice size, in my opinion. You know, it's got a really nice clip that works super well. And so when you've got it in your pocket, it's not taking up much room at all. And so you kind of forget you have it in there at times, you know, during the day. But let's just kind of look it over one time. So you can tell my cut of 80s on the front is kind of dog shit, if I'm being honest about it. It doesn't look great. You got the blue back spacer, the blue studs, and then this side actually looks pretty good. And then of course the shiny DLC. And these inlays, they kind of stick up proud, but they're uniformly proud all the way around, so you can like feel them sticking up everywhere, but at least it's uniform. And then you can see there's a little plate right here. So at first you would think these are two separate pieces, the inlay, but it's actually one solid piece that's attached in between here with a little screw hole between of it that's coming in from the underside to hold it into place. And it's the same on this side. See the little plate right there. And so that kind of makes it to where if you wanted to make your own inlays to put inside of there, it's going to be fairly difficult to mill out this little area right here in the middle, as it's very thin and very specifically sized and made to fit right there. Yeah, they'll probably come out with more inlays for it, just like they've done with the Militao, but we'll just have to wait and see. Access to the lock bar is really nice. They scalloped it on this one side, really, and it's, you know, it's cut out fairly heavily right there in the middle. As you can see, it's not really laid back on this side. I can't really tell if it is, but if it is, it's just like that much, you know, but it's actually just enough that when you go in there and to disengage it, you're able to disengage it from the side relatively easily and have it drop without the blade actually contacting you. I'm able to catch it just before the blade. So right there, whatever that little piece is, it's part of the tang almost that you're kind of catching right there. If you disengage it up into it right here, you know. So if you disengage it with your finger lodged all the way up in there like that, which doesn't feel uncomfortable or anything, it just feels naturally where my thumb wants to land, then it doesn't come down and get me, you know, if that makes sense. Lockup's really good on it, as almost all Kizers are. It's kind of deceiving, like when you look at it, because when you first look at it, just like with the Militao, you kind of see this black part, and it looks like it's way over, like it's engaged more than 50%. But then if you look at the little metal insert, that's where it's actually making contact. And so you can see that's like right at 50. So it's, you know, very solidly engaged. The thumb studs on it and the front flipper are your two means of deployment. And on my copy, it has a pretty stout detent. Stout enough to where when I go to reverse flick it, it's not uncomfortable, but it takes some force, you know. I'll say that. You can see it. I can't, this isn't me like trying to flick it really hard or something. It's just the amount of energy I have to put behind it to get mine to flick open. And here, I'll be quiet. You can hear how clicky that detent is going in there. And that's just a sign of how strong the detent is on mine. Are all of them like this? I don't think so, because some of the other videos I've watched, some people were even complaining that the detent was a little light. And for the thumb flick, the stiffer detent is wonderful, other than the fact that these oddly shaped thumb studs aren't chamfered on the corners, and so this corner is, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's sharp, but it is aggressive. Aggressive enough to where if it's like mine and it has a stiff detent, when you go to push off onto there, you can see how bad it's indenting my thumb on there. Now, if they would have just chamfered the edges on this ever so slightly, it would have made all the difference in the world. And then you would still get plenty of grab on it without it being, in my opinion, kind of uncomfortable. Especially if you're fidgeting with this knife, you know, throughout the day or whatever. This will wear on your thumb, for sure. The same way on the top flipper. They jimped it up and around, which I love to see. But these two jumps right there on the top right there, if you do the rollover on this or even the top flip and you miss and go too high and go to almost, I mean, I'm not necessarily slipping off of it because the detent on mine is so strong, sometimes when I go to do the rollover on it, I'm not thinking about where I'm putting my finger, and I'm just going to do it like you would do on some knives, and you can't do that on my copy. If you do and you slip off of this thing, holy Jesus, it is going to shred the shit out of your finger. I mean, rip skin off of it. I mean, just annihilate it. I mean, you can hear it. It's very sharp. This is too sharp. You know, too sharp in my opinion. And a lot of it is just, you know, because there's that jump is right on the front, and then this one's right on a corner again. So it's like they're both right on corners, you know. And the front flipper on mine works really well. Like, I have no issues using the front flipper. It's enjoyable to use, but a lot of that is because the detent on mine is stronger. I could see where if this had a little bit softer detent, this front flipper might not be all that enjoyable, to be honest with you. And it looks like it would be. It looks like it would work so well, but because it's only slightly above the pivot, so you can see in line right there that, and it's not even actually above the frame of the knife, that you're not getting as much leverage on it as you think you are. You know, when I first looked at it in pictures, I thought, oh man, this thing's going to front flip like a dream. And my copy does, because it has a stiffer detent. Not like a dream. I mean, it does okay. Let's just say that. But if the detent wasn't so strong, I don't know that it would work all that good at all, to be honest with you. Or it would be very lackadaisical, you know, even though that's not a word and I just made it up, but whatever. Again, on the reverse flick, you have to, I mean, you don't really have an option because of where the way this is cut out. So your finger is going to land, it's hard for me to show it, but just like this, you know, and that's the only spot you have to push off of it, unless you're going to try to do like the meat push off, which I hate doing, you know, so it lands in a really good spot. Oh, see, there it goes. Oh gosh, I can't get it now. I can't get it. Sometimes I'm beginning to think like, there it goes. Okay, it might have just been because of how I'm catching it. I'm telling you, because the detent is so strong on mine, I have to catch it just right when I'm reverse flicking it. And if I don't, I cannot reverse flick it. And I might have been on the detent. I mean, the lock bar cut out right there, because it's thin, but it has some areas that jut out a little bit that are kind of deceiving, to where you can accidentally land on it and not realize that you are. So that could have been what I was doing right there, but yeah, it's you know, it's still enjoyable to flick. I'll say that. And it's like I said, it's a really good size. It fits in my hand really well, and this thing came just like blisteringly sharp. I'm trying to see if I have something around me that I can use to cut some kind of flyer, but you know, this will do. I mean, it just came very, very sharp, you know, with a very, very good edge on it. As a lot of the Kizers here recently have been. So let's talk about kind of the elephant in the room, because if you've seen me waving it around, you've probably seen it in the light, with the light bouncing off of it. And at first in videos and stuff, I thought I thought, oh man, that's got to be just like a shadow or some kind of effect because of the shiny DLC. But let's talk about this plunge around. What in the heck is going on there? It's almost like you can kind of see it right there. It's almost like there's a double plunge on it. So you've got like the real one ends like right there, but then you see all that fading out material right there. So it's like it's almost like there's two, or there's like another angle, right there that's causing that extra fade. So it's like, it's crazy thick all the way through there already. And then because of that double looking fade that you can see, it almost wants to end like way the hell out here. I've never seen this on a knife, real honestly. This thing's going to be a nightmare to sharpen, I feel like. And especially because it's the DLC coating, like when you go to use diamond plated stones, if you run into this like up here somewhere, say, you're going to take that coating off and it's going to look terrible. So I'm going to probably just have to, when I do go, luckily it's super duper sharp and it's s45vn, so you'll be able to strop it back for a good long time before I actually need to sharpen it. But you'll just have to take your time and just, make sure you're not running into it in any which way that you shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Luckily, the stop pin is internal. Or, well, might as well be internal. It's way up here. So we're hitting way back up here. Sorry, I thought it was internal, but it's not. It's basically at the top back there. So it's wrapping around the top flipper and then hitting, way back here on the blade. So that's nice, But other than that, and the sharpness of the thumb studs and the top flipper, which are kind of a good thing because you are not going to miss these things. You're surely not going to miss them. And I think in one with a little bit lighter detent, they'd actually be, quite enjoyable. And they are on my copy too, just to be clear. I'm not saying they're so sharp they're unusable or some crazy mess. You know what I mean? But the reason I really wanted the DLC coating is because the DLC coating just holds up so well when cutting, and it makes it pass through material super nice. But on top of that, it just enhances the action, I feel like, especially on the drop. A lot of times the shiny DLC coating that they're using will make the drop on the knife just that much better, in my opinion. So this one closes under its own weight, and to be such a thin, light blade, small blade, is kind of impressive, and for it to be as silky smooth as it is when it does it, it's an all-around really nice knife, and aside from the kind of crappy 80s camo that I have on this side, but the other side's really nice, Let's do a size comparison real quick. So there she is. Let's look at the Milita, which is significantly bigger. Let's kind of yoink. So you can see it's a good bit bigger there. But like I said, it still fits in my hand nice. Let's compare it to, let's do the Hodeka. Smaller, just not tremendously smaller. Might help if I'm down in frame a little better. So, very, very similar size handle. You know what I mean? Although this is a little thinner and it has this flat right here versus this just being very open in the back. It's still a very similar size profile. And then let's see, we got the top liner lock Raccoon, which is going to be quite a bit bigger. Yep. But again, the handle size isn't all that much bigger. And that's another thing I forgot to mention. Well, I'll talk about it here in a second. And then let's do, well, not many people will probably have that. Let's do the Civivi Cubit. I feel like this is probably pretty darn close. Yeah, damn near perfect. And so you can kind of see the good thing about the Cubit though is you have the nice choke up spot. On this one, you can choke up right there, but because of that point right there, it's not very comfortable. I mean, you can trigger pull it right there, but it's definitely going to be digging into you in an awkward manner. I wouldn't consider it a viable option, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, if in a pinch, if I absolutely had to, of course, but like naturally, there's no way I'm wanting to go land up there, you know. And then so the other point that I was going to kind of make is if you look at this, it looks a little off, you know. Just the design, not the design, but just the overall length of it. It looks off when you're talking about blade to handle ratio, and it is, you know, kind of significantly. If you look at where the tip ends right there compared to how much handle you're going to have left, you're talking about ending like where this point is right there, you know, on the scale. So right where that point is right there. So you look at how much handle's left over inside of there. Yeah, damn near right on that point. So it's like it just throws it off looks wise, kind of, you know. It would look a lot better if the blade was, if you were getting more blade out of it, you know. But that's a subjective thing. Not everybody gives a shit about that, you know. Like, I mean, would it maybe look better if it was done in that form or fashion? You know, probably. Is it necessity? You know, no. The main thing is like the action on it's really good. The carryability on it's really good. The clip works amazingly well. It has a couple of few quirks, like the sharpness on the thumb studs and the sharpness here, you know, and this, you know, the biggest one is this wonky ass plunge grind. But these are all things that wouldn't keep me personally from buying the knife, because I know I could work around this sharpening wise. And these aren't so bothersome that I would consider them unusable or something crazy like that, you know. And the action on it's just very nice, you know, because mine has a little bit stiffer detent. It helps that a lot. So I'm not, you know, your mileage may vary if you've got one with a little bit lighter detent and how good it feels to you. I wish they were maybe more uniform, but from what I've seen, I might actually have the anomaly in one that is a little bit tighter detent. You can kind of let me know down in the comments if you have one and how strong your detent is. Anyways, hope y'all enjoyed it. Have a good one.